Knowing his knowledge, we're building a duplex, going through the exact cost breakdown. This is my exact cost breakdown on my 896 Adams Street Phoenix project that we did this past year. And I'll tell you guys that these are the exact cost breakdowns of what it takes to build a duplex in today's current market. Now, understand that we start this build when commodities were slightly more expensive than they are right now. So to your guys' benefit, you're going to understand the value of what the cost to build is, and it's slightly less expensive by about a 5 to 8% margin on commodities. So when we look at these costs, as the prices of building materials goes up, as the cost of building materials goes up, we have a little bit of buffer in this actual budget because of the time and when we actually built this duplex and the cost for commodities. Okay, so it's 896 Adams Street, Phoenix. If you guys want to look up the property, you guys are welcome to do so. I'd like you guys to be able to look, see, and feel, touch, breathe, and even drive by any of the projects that we do. So if you guys have interest in doing so, you're welcome to do so. Now, one of the biggest things is there's soft costs and hard costs. And people will always ask, hey, Jerome, what is my true cost on this stuff? And depending on where you're learning and where you're getting your information, one of the biggest things is understanding what the costs breakdown are, whether they're hard costs or soft costs. Now, let me explain hard costs versus soft costs. Now, the best way that I explain it is the soft costs are all associated with what happens in the office, like the architecture, the engineering. And so I always tell people, soft costs, soft hands. The people that work in the office, they typically don't have calloused fingers, hands, and they're typically have a softer approach to what they do. They are the designers, the engineers, and the people that are doing the in-office professional work. Now, hard costs are the stuff that you do in the field, right? It's all the construction stuff, all the hard costs for construction. They typically have hard hands, calloused fingers and hands because they're in the field, they're slinging hammers, they're cutting boards, and they're laying concrete, so forth and so on. So I always associate the two costs based on that. And so for learning purposes, understand the soft costs, soft hands, hard cost, hard hands. It's the field work versus the office work. And so when we go in, some of our soft costs are the architectural blueprint freeze, and we use a draftsman, and the draftsman is able to use CAD. CAD, if you update your software, it will update from city to city, municipality to municipality, and it gives the current building codes for the requirements of the state codes throughout the entire United States. And so if your area and plan review in your municipality allows for the use of draftsman, not architect, take advantage because they're about half the price of using a trade-skilled architect. And so we only paid $2,684 for blueprints and architecture. Now, what I'm going to do is I want to share my screen with you guys so you guys can actually see the actual cost breakdown as I run through these. And so I want to share my screen with you and simply show you the step-by-step, cost-by-cost actual breakdowns of what it would cost you in today's current market to build a duplex similar to this. Now, there are variables depending on city that you guys live in. I will tell you guys a little trick of the trade. There are more expensive demographical areas. Like I also build in Kirkland, Washington, which is the Seattle area. Trade labor in Kirkland and in the Seattle market is substantially more expensive. When we build in areas like California, trade labor in some areas like LA County, Los Angeles, Beverly Hills, San Diego, some of those areas, a lot more expensive. You go up to Northern California, San Francisco, and the Bay Area, a lot more expensive for trade labor. So when you go into certain demographical areas like New York City, even down in South Beach, Florida, trade labor is more expensive. Now, the way we get around that is we typically build in volume. When you're building a duplex, you're building in volume. You got 2 units going on. It's not a bigger project. In fact, mentally to some people, they feel like it is. But what I like about duplexes is that you're not doing a lot of the excess space like garages and some of the excess space that you would normally do on a single family home, at least not the big 3-car garages. You might do a single car garage. These ones actually had really nice carports on them, and we didn't utilize garages on these ones particularly, but their price of garages are very similar to what the carports cost us because typically we leave the garages semi-unfinished. And what I mean by that is we drywall them, but we don't finish them out. We leave the concrete floors just concrete. We may trim them out, paint them, very simple, but that's about it. And we keep them very, very modest in regards to the cost to build those, which you'll see here in just a moment. Now, when we go in and we build these, these ones were 1,500 square foot units, so 3,000 square feet total. When you're building the average median home, it's about a 2,500 square foot home. We typically go after the upper middle class demographic. duplex, so we never build over 27 to 3,000 square feet. So this is very similar to our business model on single-family residence. It just happens to be a duplex, and with the cost of duplexes is very similar to a single-family home, with the exception that our amenities and trim outs are slightly more modest. We're not selling that upper middle-class demographical area where we're putting in the custom features. We're putting in good quality, solid, long-term fixtures that are going to take the test of time and the use and abuse of tenants coming in and out of those units. But we're going to give a quality product, but we're going to do away from some of the high-end stuff. So for sake of example, when we go through countertop costs, you'll notice that our hard countertops, which we actually use quartz on these ones, typically more expensive. We used a 2 cm instead of a 3 cm. Our custom homes, we use a thicker granite or quartz product. These ones, we use a slightly thinner one, but it's still a hard surface countertop, not Formica, not cheap, very nice product. Let's go through these costs. As we go through them, I'll explain some of these line items one by one. I'll share my screen here with you guys, and if you take a look at the architectural blueprint fees, we paid $2,684 for our architectural blueprints. Now, building permits and plan check. So when I talk about building permits, this also includes our impact fees. It includes the plan review fees, and it includes any of the city tax and municipal fees that are included in the building permits themselves. We paid $7,100 for our building permits and plan check fees. Now, line 103, engineering and surveying fees. We had to do some grading and drainage, so there was some civil engineering for this in particular project. We had to make sure that we had a grading drainage plan. It was in downtown Phoenix area, and so we had to comply with the master plan for grading and drainage, and we had to get a structural engineer to certify our structural engineering. So those two engineers cost us a total of $5,150 in order to build this duplex. Now, some municipalities don't require the structural engineer. Some of them don't even require the civil engineer. But for all intended purposes, on this one, it was required, and our cost for engineering was $5,150. Now, soil tests. You'll want to get a soil test because this is like an insurance policy, and it's very inexpensive. Our soil test was $1,430, and we wanted soil samples to make sure that we had a geotechnical report that said, hey, we need to over excavate 3 feet down. The soil was good soil. We had to mill it, recompact it in layers, and very modest cost, but $1,430 for the geotechnical engineering, which is the soil test. Okay. Now, utility fees were very modest. We had actually tore down an old home that was built in the 1950s. And because of that, we did have utilities there. We had to get rid of them, but we had to upgrade a few things. And so for the upgrades and utility fees for electrical upgrades, sewer tie-ins, water tie-ins, we had a total of $2,872 in utility fees. Now, our landscape architecture was a requirement on this one. It was very modest because it was a small property. If you go buy it, you'll understand that they're small, modest duplex properties. Now, there's multiple of these by each other. It isn't just one. We actually had, in this area, we actually had 64 units of duplexes and fourplexes in this area, and I actually just took the cost of one duplex for this in particular build. Now, when we did the landscape architect, I just took a dividend of what the landscape architecture took us for the whole property, but you'll notice that on this one, it's extremely modest, $750 to get a simple landscape architect plan that would comply with the city. Now, truth be told, our draftsman did the actual landscape architecture on CAD, and he shared the file with our landscape architect. If you do this, it saves you on fees because the draftman does it as part of their overall scope of work, and then the landscape architect reviews it, makes sure it complies with city requirements, and then stamps it, and then sends it off for plan review along with the rest of your other architecture that your draftsman actually put together. So we keep our costs modest by making sure that we're not doubling down on cost with architecture. If you just go in and you get a landscape architect, it could cost you $3,000 to $5,000. So you have to make sure that those small components and those little tricks of the trade are implemented into your overall costs, or it will cost you more money just by not knowing and not having knowledge. So one of the big things is we try to get our draftsman to do everything he can off of CAD, or she, whoever she is, this gentleman, his name is Tony, and he actually is the one that did the draftsman. So we'll just refer to him as he. Yep. So when we go in and we take a look at this stuff, I make sure that he takes care of absolutely as much as he possibly can to reduce my overall costs. And then it's just an oversight look, review, stamp, and approval by the landscape architects, which might take an hour or two at most. And so for a modest $750, we're done. Now, when we rented at the end, line 107, this is part of our soft costs, it's advertising and marketing. marketing. What did we do to advertise and market? Now, we spent a little too much on this one, but we did have some banners that went on the fence, and we had some marketing material that went into some local publications, and then we did some Craigslist listings to fill this property. Very simple, very modest, $820 worth of advertising and marketing. When I say we overspent on it, it's because it's a duplex. It's small. You shouldn't have to spend a lot. Sometimes we'll lease these with a $5, $10 ad on Craigslist, and they're done. They're gone, right? But we do banners, want to make them look professional, and so some of those added costs increased the modest budget for advertising and marketing. Property taxes. What I love about being under construction is that you don't just get assessed the property tax value of the new property until you actually stabilize the asset and get a certificate of occupancy. So whatever that asset was before, which was a small little old distressed house, the property taxes were about $1,783 for the entire year. Even though the build intake is the entire year, we still assume the cost of that property insurance and property taxes for the entire year. And that's $1,783. Now, insurance for fire and damage and comprehensive is $11,524. Insurance is expensive right now, guys. It's went up over the last couple years, and so you're going to spend a premium on insurance, where we used to spend about $4,000 a year on an insurance policy for liability insurance on a property similar to this. It's almost 3 times multiple in today's real world. So it's about $11,524 is what we finished and closed out that property at the end of 2024. Now, the school fees in the property taxes, we'll keep that blank. Government fees, there was none on this one, but we'll keep that in the property tax fees. But we did have some additional fees that weren't on this spreadsheet, so we put them under the other and indicate category, which we had some rollaway dumpsters while we were under construction. These are the under construction rollaway dumpsters. We had 3 of them total for a total of $2,130 for our rollaway dumpsters. Now, temporary fencing will reduce your overall insurance costs with most insurance companies. A lot of municipalities, when you're building in very dense areas like downtown, they require temporary fencing, and for your own personal liability, temporary fencing in a high traffic area, especially where there's a lot of transient, homelessness, and people walking, we want to do temporary fence. We got a package deal on a temporary fence for 6 months at $1,145, and that was our total cost of the temporary fence. I have a feeling we probably had about $300 of additional cost in there, but because we have multiple accounts, we just took into account the 6-month contract of $1,145. This was a 6-month build. Okay, now, when we go in and we look at security, we just did security cameras. Some of our bigger properties will pay the security guard companies that come around in their cars. A lot of them are retired police officers that work for large security companies. We didn't do that on this property. It was a lot smaller. We had a lot of stabilized asset around it, so we had other tenants from other properties that were active, lighting, everything. But we use what's called Onsite. It's an app that we use, very modest cameras that you can pick up and run them through the app, and for a modest amount every month. I think we spent about $50 to $80 a month. We paid $887 for the security camera systems for this project. They record on the app, off the cloud. It's very effective, very efficient. Okay, so that's the vast majority of our software costs, with the exception of the dumpster fees. Okay, now as we go through this, we didn't have any major offsite fees, and that's what I like about these small duplex and fourplex projects, is that when you go in and you actually facilitate these projects, a lot of times, especially if the infrastructure is there, you're just doing tie-ins to the pre-existing. You might have to upgrade a water meter, you might have to upgrade a transformer, but it's pretty modest as far as cost. There was no manhole cost, no drainage, no storm drain cost. There was no water meter cost for service lines, no fire hydrants. There was no street paving or grading that had to be done. There was no curbs and gutters that had to be installed because they were already there. But we did have some sidewalk costs. We had to tear up one of the sidewalks to tie into the water meter and the sewer lines on that project. So we had $2,200 in sidewalk sewer costs, and some of these sidewalks were the ones that actually were the sidewalk approaches that went to the front doors of the actual properties. Now, the driveway approaches, we didn't have to do. Those are the drive aprons that actually come into the property. Those were already there. Those were cleaned up and is part of the final cleanup of the entire project. There was no street light work that had to be done. Now, there was some street signs work that needed to be done. We had some bus stop signs that had to go in. When we cut out the sidewalks, we took down the bus stop signs, and those had to go in, and we had some handicap parking signs that also had to go in with those as well. So, and then some no parking signs. So $772 in modest signage for our offsite fees. Okay. Now, with this spreadsheet, this is also for our community. They get access to the spreadsheet. If you have interest in being a part of our community, make sure you guys do an outreach. And if you guys want more information similar to this, click and subscribe to our YouTube channel, pound that thumbs up button, and comment below. If you guys have comments, even you guys on TikTok, if you guys have comments, comment below. And if you're watching this on repeat, put #repeat repeat, give us a little bit of love, but click and subscribe, and we'll continue giving you guys great content just like this as you guys move through your real estate, development, and investment careers, whether it's single-family homes, duplexes, or large multifamily, warehouses, whatever it is. But today we're doing duplexes. We're building a duplex and going through my actual costs of what we spent on this duplex. Now, with that said, let's get into our on-site construction costs. We had some demo and debris removal. We had some old asphalt, old concrete, and an old house that had to be torn down and removed from the site. That cost us $10,850. So that cost went in alignment and was actually a combined cost that we required the demolition company and the earthwork moving company to separate for us so that we knew what cost was going into demolition and what cost was going into actual dirt work. It was a small site. The site was 1/3 of an acre. It was actually just greater than a quarter acre site that we actually did the development on. And the actual dirt work for that small site was $7,700. We had to over excavate 3 feet down, we had to mill the soil, and then we had to recompact. So a total of $7,700 for the grade work and shoring. There's no shoring if you're on the coastal lines of waterways or flood areas. You're going to have some shoring in Arizona. You guys ever heard the country song? I got my oceanfront property in Arizona. There's no oceanfront properties in Arizona. So we don't have to shore there, but there is excavation and grading fees that have to take place. Okay, so $7,700. Let's get into our temporary pulls. We had an old power line that was there, and it was very modest. We were only paying about $80 a month for that temporary power existed there for about 10 or 11 months. We had $1,056 in temporary power fees through the entire project. This was a small, modest 6-month build. Now, concrete foundations, guys. Get prices on concrete work. Concrete work is skewed exponentially amongst companies to companies, depending whether they have in-house employees or whether they're subbing it out to a third party or whether they're bringing in 1099 contract labor. Concrete foundation on this property cost us $32,000. It was a total slab area of just over 3,000 square feet. We had 3,100 square feet. That was the foundation only. No driveways, no walkways, just the foundation. That included all the rebar. That included the footings. That included our stem walls. That included all of our monolithic slab. If you did this post-tension, it would be probably a little bit less expensive, but we do a lot of monolithic slabs because they move quick and we're able to go in, and if there's any minor modifications or inconsistency in plumbing, post-tension, because of all the rebar in the slab, is extremely hard to modify it or move, so you have to be extremely careful. Monolithic slab, you have a lot more forgiveness, so we save on the back end with monolithic slabs. So this was $32,000. Now, our plumbing rough-in on line 306, this is actually our entire plumbing cost. This is our rough-in, our top-out, and our trim-out, which includes the installation of all our fixtures, our toilets, our sinks, and trimming out all our faucets, everything. But it includes the rough-in at the foundation, and it includes the top-out after frame stage. Was $18,000 is what the plumbing contractor charges us straight across for the rough-in, the top-out, and the trim-out. Now, framing lumber package. This includes our trusses, ladies and gentlemen. Very simple build. If you look at this property, the truss package is very simple. It's a rectangular property, very simple, not a lot of contour to the actual property except for at the entryways. And so we had a total of $44,230 worth of lumber and trusses on this property. The truss package was probably sitting right around that $15,000 mark. So we had probably just shy of $30,000 in actual lumber cost outside of the trusses themselves. Now, the framing labor is always charged separate from the actual lumber, and the framing cost on this one was actually $22,500, but we wanted all of the fasteners, the nails, the bolts, screws, and cut nails, everything included, all the staples for their guns included in the price. So he said, Jerome, you don't have to buy any staples, nails, fasteners, bolts, none of that stuff. Just give us a straight $25,000. We'll include all of that in the price. So we took the price of our actual framing package, added about $2,500 to it, and for $25,000, we were able to get the entire framing package done, and that included all nails, all staples, and all fasteners. That's important to know because when you're getting framing prices, most times, early years, and when I say early years, just 5 years ago, they would include all the staples, fasteners, and nails in their price. Post-COVID, when commodities went up, they gave you a base price, but didn't include that stuff because the cost of those materials actually went up exponentially, where we used to spend between $1,000 to $1,200 in nails and fasteners. Now it's more than double that. So for $2,500, all the nails, fasteners were all included in the price, and we were able to get it all done for $25,000. Okay. Hot mop is the type of roofing. That's the old tar and gravel. We didn't do a hot mop on this one. This was all tile roof and TPO on the flat roof areas. We didn't have any structural steel on these. We try to stay away from structural steel because it increases our price. We also didn't have any fire sprinklers because this was considered to be a residential property, not a multifamily property, anything 4 units or lower. There are some municipalities like in Kirkland, Washington, where it doesn't matter if it's just a duplex. We're required to do fire sprinklers in all of our duplexes and fourplexes. So make sure that you guys know what the requirements are in your local area. Now, if and only if you are required to do fire sprinklers in your area, what our cost to do the fire sprinklers in the Kirkland area when we're doing our cottage development was $8,000 per unit was our average cost for sprinklers. So pencil that in at about an $8,000 cost. Those are 2024-25 numbers that we were actually executing on this current year. And we have more of these coming out of the ground in the Kirkland market right now. So we know what the costs are. Now, this in particular project did have fire sprinklers. Now, with that said, some of those added costs adds to your bottom line cost per square foot, but our resale price per square foot in the areas that require it is also exponentially more, where we could sell these for maybe $300 to $320 per square foot on the resale value or more. In Kirkland, we're selling our products for in excess of $600 a square foot. So difference, increased price for construction, increased price for resale, increased price for construction, increased price for resale. This is actual prices for the city of Phoenix in Maricopa County in the state of Arizona. Okay. Now, we didn't have any elevators in there. Electrical rough-in, it says electrical rough-in on line 313. That is not the cost for just the rough-in itself. I want to explain again that this was our data entry line, but this is the total cost for electrical. That includes the electrical rough-in and the electrical trim out, which includes all of the drilling and boxing and all of the home runs on the rough-in, including your trim out, which includes your final plates, switches, and panels. Everything is included in there for the electrical, minus the lighting fixtures. But it includes the recess cans that we have, which is quite a bit. It includes all of the canisters for all of your other light fixtures. It includes all the boxing and all your electrical receptacles and light switch materials, labor, and everything for the electrical rough-in and the trim out. $17,800 in total for this duplex. Now, our heating, AC, venting, which is the HVAC, or also known as your mechanical price, we typically do combo units on all of our properties. But because we wanted to do these all electric and get rid of all the gas, we did what's called split units. Split units are very cost effective. We probably saved ourselves, I would say these units would have been 3-ton combo units, and total installation cost would have probably cost us closer to about $12,000 per unit. So probably about $24,000. But because we did these in split units, we were able to save on the overall cost of the installation. They're very energy efficient and they're very effective and very reliable. We use them all over our Arizona properties. We use them all over our Kirkland and Seattle properties. And we use them in all of our multifamily properties, even our large ones, 150 units, 200 units. We use split units. Very cost effective and very effective and efficient. This one cost us a total of $17,250. And the reason it was a little bit more, because we could typically get our split units done in a property like this for about $5,000 to $6,000 per unit. So it would have been $12,000. We wanted to keep these long term. And so we did ducting in these. We did split units with physical ducting. Instead of just seeing the discharge unit that typically sits on the wall in most split units where you go to other countries, resorts, and they sit up on the wall, we actually put ducting in the walls and did our split units with our condensers with actual ducting. And so it cost us a little bit more, but long term is going to save us and actually looks so much nicer in the air distribution throughout these units. And because Arizona is a hot state, getting in upwards of 120 degrees in the summertime, we wanted to make sure that every bedroom, every bathroom, every living space, kitchen, in all areas had cooling in the summertime. So we decided that the extra $5,000 investment to be able to put ducting in was well worthwhile on the investment. So the heating and cooling, $17,250. Now, we went ahead and did some small fireplaces in these. We knew that these were upper demographical areas. We weren't going to do fireplaces. You don't have to do fireplaces. We just happened to put fireplaces in these, and we did electrical fireplaces, which are a little bit more, but they were small, modest, and added a great touch to the family room, which was actually the selling component to these units because it made it feel and look like a custom home. It really moved the needle on these. So for $3,700, this was our needle mover as far as architectural components on the interior that really set it off. It looked like a custom home. We framed them out with a large TV area for a big flat screen television over the fireplace, but added a nice quaint feel to it. It was a great architectural component that actually sold the value to the tenants on these and made it feel more homely. So well worth the $3,700 expense, but not required in all of them. Most of them, we do not put fireplaces in. It just happened that this demographical area in downtown Phoenix served the purpose to get higher rents by having some of these amenities in there that we would otherwise typically forfeit out of our cost. So that's a cost that you could bypass without. Now, with that said, all of our exterior windows and doors, this is an important one. The entire exterior door package, including windows, guys, was $9,623. When we first took this package out to bid, we had prices in excess of $18,000 for windows and doors. So we use vinyl windows, all vinyl windows, Builders Series. And there's a multitude of different brands from Gelwin, Western, there's a ton of different brands of windows and doors out there. With these doors, we did modest. We also did fiberglass doors, really nice one, modern looking with a horizontal glass on them. So they look really, really modern. Those doors were about $600 a piece. We kept them very, very modest. We used standard sizes on our doors, which were 3 foot wide, which are ADA compliant, and 6 foot 8 inches tall. So 3068 is the way that the doors are called out. The architect had originally called out 4 foot wide doors, 8 feet tall. We didn't do those. We forwent those doors and just did standard size doors, and they look really attractive, very modern, and very modest on the price. We also got rid of all our operable casement and awning windows that the architect 100% of the time calls out on every property. We go towards large fixed glass windows where every place we can, because fixed glass windows are so much less expensive, and the operable windows are always single hung or sliders. That's it. We only use single hungs or slider. If we get fancy, we use what's called XOXO, those where you have like 2 sliders on the sides. But for these modest duplexes, we single hungs and sliders, very modest windows. And then we had some utility doors for a storage closet that we had on each of the units, which gave us one more exterior door. And those doors were each like $350 a piece. Very inexpensive, very modest, but very attractive and very energy efficient. They comply with all of the current energy codes. Okay, so we had a total of $9,623 in exterior doors, windows, and so forth and so on. Now, sheet metal gutters and downspouts. We had some downspouts and gutters we had to put over the front entryways. Because this was in a downtown area, we stayed modest with our gutters, but we did do them off the sides of the rooftop to be able to contain the water, to comply with our civil engineering grading and drainage plan. A lot of times, if I'm selling these, I don't put gutters in. I sell them without gutters. With this property, we initially intended to keep but sold, and we needed to do this to comply with our civil engineering. So it was a little bit of added cost for downspouts on this project. There was no lightweight concrete. There was no upstairs balconies or anything that required lightweight concrete, as typically required in stairways, stairwells, and access points for balconies in most apartment complexes. These were modest builds, very attractive, but very simple, no lightweight concrete. Now, we did use a non-sophisticated roofer. So roofing is one of those numbers where prices can get skewed. We paid $3.50 square foot for our roofing. We used contract labor of roofing guys. We didn't have a roofing warranty because we pretty much did the roof ourselves, but we used roofing contractors that these guys are the staff and employees of roofing. And so when we were dealing with our general contractor, which was 7J, he came to us and said, "Hey, Jerome, we can get the roofing done at $5 or just slightly over $5 a square foot, and you'll have a warranty on it, or we can just get it done with the same employees, same guys, but get it done for $3.50 a square foot. Now, these guys will come back. They'll warranty it if you initially, but you don't have a 5-year, 7-year roofing warranty like you typically do. So we were able to go in, save a little bit of money by just doing trade labor roofing contractors, because originally we weren't intending to sell it when we first built these, and we got our roofs done for $10,600. Very effective and efficient price. I encourage you guys to do that if it's a product you're going to keep. And then you can still afford the maintenance long term if you need to, which most companies, in order to warranty them, require a maintenance plan nonetheless that's not free. And so there's cost to maintaining those roofs, whether you get a warranty or not nonetheless. So roofing is one of those that we'd rather take the savings on, provided that we have trade labor that understands what they're doing to do it correctly. And it's the same labor help that comes in with a large expensive company that is doing it for us. And since we're already otherwise insured as a general contractor, we just went ahead and hired them out at $3.50 a square foot to get the roofing work done. Okay, now let's go through exterior stucco and siding. Siding is typically less expensive than stucco. Veneers, if you do siding, guys, always use concrete board siding. Never use vinyl siding. Everybody in the world tries to sell you vinyl siding. It's the biggest piece of shit that you'll ever put into a duplex or a product, because you can't ever replace it if it gets damaged, discolored, or something happens. The product manufacturers change their products regularly. The size of it, the color of it, the dialots are different. When you have to replace one panel, if it's in the middle, you have to take everything off from the bottom all the way up, re-dry it in, put it back together, and it's a nightmare. So concrete siding is always what I recommend. Yes, there's maintenance, some of the painting, but you're going to paint that stuff once every 10 years if you use a good quality paint, if not less than that. So we always recommend concrete siding. Now, this property happened to be 100% stucco. We did do just a simple 2-stage synthetic stucco or elastomeric stucco, and we just had one color, soft sand finish throughout. Well, not a lot of tricks and whistles to this. No parapet walls. It was a pitch roof. It was a pitch roof build. And so the stucco was extremely modest in cost, and we were able to get the stucco work done for $17,000 for the duplex, the entire duplex. Okay, interior door jambs. This includes the hardware and fixtures. Very simple. We did do them ADA compliance. We used the very inexpensive levers. They were all quick lock. Quick lock is effective and efficient. And we did our interior door jambs with our doors, and we just did hollow core doors, ladies and gentlemen. We did the 2-panel, very modern looking hollow core interior doors, very cost effective and modest. $6,200. Closet doors and closet systems. We use particle wood, and these are actually custom built, custom crafted closets, which are high quality in regards to the way they look, usability, and they're very modest in cost. Now, the materials and install of those, $2,200. It's a 1-day install for these guys, very modest in cost. Now, the finished carpentry, including the baseboard, crown molding, there was no crown molding, a little bit of trim work, mostly all baseboard work, $4,000 for all the labor. Okay, that was predominantly labor. Now, the cabinets were nice cabinets. We used prefabricated cabinets. We had a local company that produced those cabinets for us, had a guy come in, and for $1,000, he built the cabinets. And then we had our finished carpenters actually come in and install the cabinets for us, which was about $4,000 of this $15,000 cost. And so we spent $15,580 for the cabinet on these duplexes. Now, for a custom home, they typically be more expensive than that, probably in upwards of $20,000. Same quality of cabinets. It's just there's less of them in these duplexes because of the way they're situated, but still plenty of kitchen space, storage, so forth and so on. But some of the fancy tricks and whistles that we would normally put in a custom home, we removed from here. But we did do hardware for the door handles and the doors and drawers. Okay. And that was also included in the price. We had one big skylight, 4-foot by 2-foot skylight in each of these. They were each $220 a piece, so $440. Ceramic tile was mostly for the tile surrounds on the showers. We did glue down laminate floors, LET, on all the flooring, so that's at a later price. But the ceramic tile that we did was $4,180. We did backsplash tile in the kitchens along with that price, so that included the shower surrounds, which was $1,800 per shower, and then we had some backsplash tile in the kitchens. So very modest in cost. These were 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom condos, by the way. So when you're looking back and you're watching this and you're trying to make sense out of it, it's a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom build. And we did a full bathtub in one bathroom. We did just a small modest shower in another. The ones with just the showers were about $1,000 per shower surround. and the other ones were a little bit more modest as far as the shower surrounds on the bathtubs. I think I actually quoted you guys wrong because I'm going after my apartment build costs, and I don't remember what they charged per bathroom on these, but total tile cost was $4,180 for the shower surrounds and backsplash tile. Okay, now countertops. We talked about this earlier. $7,700. We used a 2 cm quartz, and we used a basic level 1 quartz, all white. Looks very attractive for a very modest price, $7,700, 2 cm. Plumbing fixtures, this includes your toilets, this includes your showers, this includes my shower pans, this includes my faucets, this includes my sink faucets, my shower faucets, and it includes all of my plumbing fixtures throughout the entire house, $4,300. That's just the materials. That does not include installation. The installation was included in the plumbing price, which we had listed under the plumbing rough-in price, but it's actually all of the total plumbing price. Okay, now, our ornamental iron stairways and rails. We had a couple little gates on the property. If you go down there and you see, you'll notice that there's a couple gates on that property. That was $1,400 for the wrought iron work on that actual property for the entry gates to that property. We had 2 of them. Okay, so $1,400. Now, we also had painting of the interior exterior. I get my painters, guys. People always hassle me, but there's no way you can get these things painted to that quality for $7,500. Bet me. I go down to the subdivisions where D.R. Horton and Pulte are doing their homes. These guys are doing volume painting. And I just go in, I talk to the painters that are doing those homes. Those guys are always less expensive than custom painters, and they have it down to a T. They have it down to a science. They go in, they mask, they spray, they primer, they paint, and they rip everything off. They spray all the baseboard at the same time and have all that stuff laid out. They spray all the doors at the same time, and then they get everything effective and efficiently because these guys have it down to a science, and it cuts my painting costs down by thousands of dollars. So make sure that you guys are using program volume painters, not custom home painters. It'll save you a lot of money and a mint in cost. Okay, finished hardware, cabinetry, doors. We actually had that worked in. There may have been some additional cost in the price of that. Let me add some in there for you guys on this one. You'll probably have about $800 worth of additional trim costs on that for you guys. Okay, now when we go in, our floor surface, we use vinyl and carpet. The carpet is down below, but for the glue down wood plank floors, it was $9,800 in total flooring cost. There was also a little bit of ceramic tile costs in there in one of the wet areas, but the total flooring cost for the entire duplex was $9,800. That's materials and labor. Okay. Now, shower mirrors, shower doors. We always go with a more attractive shower door because it's less maintenance on us. Can we rent them with less expensive shower doors? Absolutely. But we use a 3/8 inch glass, all custom finished like we do in our homes because it lasts. But our mirrors are very modest. We get full sheets of mirrors. They glue to the wall. They're custom cut, but very inexpensive. No trim around them. They last. They're attractive. And the quality is great. $4,180 for the entire duplex. Total of 4 bathrooms and a total of 4 bathrooms and 2 shower doors on those, and that's it. We make them do shower rods in the bathtubs, no shower doors there. We require that from the tenants, but we bring the tile surround out just a little further to reduce that ugly look that you see in hotels where water overspills and then they're caulking all of that. We just seal it up with waterproof, water-based tile, and that way it's sealed up and it just lasts a lot longer. The grout over time does crack eventually, but it's so much more attractive, and then it's just a grout repair as opposed to that ugly caulking that you see in hotels and motels all over the country. You know what I'm talking about. It looks cheap, it looks ugly, and very unattractive. We do that, a preventative installation to prevent that long term. Okay, now stairways and rails, we didn't have any expenses on that on this one. Appliance package. We use a stainless steel appliance, very modest on the appliances. They look nice and attractive, very simple hoods over the top of the cooktop range. We do use stainless steel, and we do self-cleaning ovens, and we also do just nice modest refrigerators in these. We do a shower package that on every single duplex costs us right in the neighborhood of about $3,100 for the entire appliance package. We get volume prices. Your appliance packages, you may want to figure an extra $800 to $1,000 in there for a duplex because we purchased ours in an appliance package that we did with a 104 unit development that we were building and undergoing finished construction on at the same time we purchased these ones. So we got a volume discount on our appliances at $6,200. If you put it in at $7,000, you should be safe on your appliance purchase price. And you might be even able to get it at $6,200 and just do something nice and attractive, but modest. Okay, we're almost done here, guys. There's a lot of cost components that goes into this. This is worth its weight in gold for you guys. Worth its weight in gold. Okay, appliances, 6,200. No low voltage wiring inside of these. Most of the stuff now that we do, if people want to do security systems, is wireless, so we don't put that in. Companies like ADT come in and they do it for you for free if you sign a contract with them and stay with them for a few years. And so so we don't do a lot of low voltage stuff anymore. A lot of it's Bluetooth and surround sound. No one uses it. We took it out because nobody uses it. Electrical fixtures, we use a modest amount of electrical fixtures, including ceiling fans, bathroom fixtures over the mirrors, and some light in the bedrooms. The electrical fixtures, $1,670 total for the entire duplex. Driveways, paving, hardware, $7,200 to go from the actual drive aprons and your driveway approaches that were already there up into the property. We did them all in concrete, $7,200. Carpeting, we carpeted master one of the bedrooms and the closets, $1,750. And then we had a cleanup on the job site was $900. That included the window cleaning and the interior, exterior cleaning of the actual dwelling itself. Okay, that did not include grade work. Our finished drainage, if you look at finished grade, line number 347 and 348, those two lines are combined on line 347. Our finished grade and drainage is one package price that we get from our finished grading company. That price was $3,200. Landscaping, $5,310. We put a drip irrigation system in, which was about $1,800 of that cost. And then the plants and gravel cover, very modest, very simple, but just a clean, nice Southwest installation, $5,310. We did install 2 carports on there, steel construction, very nice, very attractive longevity and quality carports, and that's $5,133 for that. Now, we did put some $16,000 in contingency cost in there. I don't believe that we actually used all of that, but there was little tiny expenses that you always have for gas for generators, which is a big one all the time. We have cost for restriping at the end of the development for handicap parking if they were needed, or whatever those little costs are. We'll put in $16,000 for modest contingency costs. Our general construction fee for our general contractor was a flat fee of $50,000 to build this one, which is pretty reasonable. That we use the process of 30 to onboard our general contractors. We used to build these ourselves. We would have normally built this one ourselves. It was such a small project, but we did hire a general contractor on this one because we also had a 140 unit apartment complex going up under construction at the exact same time, just 15, 20 minutes away. And so they piggybacked this project with it, took it on for $50,000. It was worth its weight in gold for us. And that's a pretty common flat fee price for a general contractor that's doing multiple projects and multiple work at the same time. Okay, now, builder's risk insurance. Builder's risk is different than your general liability insurance. The builder's risk insurance is, let's say a homeless person jumps over your fence, takes captivity in your place and burns it down because it's winter and they want to start a little fire or make food or whatever. Believe you me, it happens, guys. If somebody kicks in your doors, we had someone drive bicycles like little kids one time. There was holes in our drywall and they punched holes all over the place with their bicycles on one of our projects. Just kids being stupid kids, right? And it was just vandalism, very modest vandalism. Childish graffiti with probably some paint that they found inside their mom and dad's garage or cupboard one day, and they spray painted our walls with dumb stuff on there, penises on the walls, and just crazy dumb shit, right? But it happens, and so to take care of some of those costs, you need to have builder's risk. We've had people kick in our doors and steal our appliances before when we're at the finished trim out. They'll break down our fences and they'll steal them. So builder's risk takes care of that type of stuff. General liability insurance is if someone slips, falls, gets hurt. If an employee slips, falls, gets hurt, that type of stuff. So you'll have fire and overlapping coverage on the builder's risk over the liability in some areas. I typically use the same company so that we reduce the overlap in coverage, but you will want to have both general liability and builder's risk insurance. The builder's risk policy was $4,100. And then we had a 7.1% Arizona state tax requirement, $27,335 that has to get paid for sales tax. And that's going to be across the board in every state, most states, not all states, but most states. Okay. And our total cost to build, $478,600 $34. Now, what was cool was these units sold for $390,000 a piece times two. And I think one actually sold for over $390 and one sold for just under $390. So $780,000 minus $478, $634. We built these cash that gave us $300,000 in net profitability over our build cost. Now, the land cost on this one, we bought this at a tax sale. So the actual property, when we purchased this property at a tax sale, we spent about $120,000 on this one. So minus 120. That's a total of $181,000 in net proceeds. Now, if you go buy this, you'll notice that there's a lot of units. There's 64 units. So you do this times 32. So because this is a duplex, times 32. We made about $5.8 million on our profitability on this project over the course of time. But these were the last two units last year. We actually built 4 of them last year. And so this is the actual cost to build a duplex in the current market. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you guys that these budgets are not going to be perfect for years, but it gives you a reference point to stand on. And when I say it gives you a reference point to stand on, you can negotiate down to these numbers, or you can negotiate numbers in general. If you're in a more expensive area, you're going to have some minor modifications. But like I've always told people, where the cost to build is more expensive, the cost in the resale is also more expensive. And so there's an absorption time, because I always get that question. Well, my area, it's way more expensive than that to build. Great. If your area is way more expensive to build, you're going to sell it for way more money, because nobody's building for free. And because no one's building for free, you're going to make a profit on these. And in most of those areas where the cost for construction is more expensive, your return on investment is typically more lucrative, because we build these exact same duplexes over in Kirkland, Washington. And instead of making $181,000 per duplex, we're making a total of over $500,000 per duplex. So there's a larger ROI. Ladies and gentlemen, for more content just like this, click and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us some love and smash that thumbs up button, and comment below. Ask questions, comment below. And if you're watching this on repeat, put #repeat. Thank you guys. God bless you. And go out and crush your next build, whether it's a duplex, single unit, whatever it is. But for more content and more direction, click subscribe, and I'll see you next time.